So, welcome everybody to Trackstar's racing series for season 2021, where we are bringing you our biggest calendar yet in our very short history at Trackstar's racing series, where we will have 46 weeks of hard action, fast paced racing, where we're bringing back our classic races like the Trackstars Touring Car series, and also we're bringing back the Formula series on the Sunday nights. But whilst at the same time we introduce a brand new series called the Trackstars Endurance Racing League Series. And as well, we've moved our famous and we could say, well acknowledged series and famous and well popular around the community. Our Porsche Cup returns, but it runs on Thursday instead. So hopefully we'll get to see a few more new faces join our community to run the Porsche Cup, whilst we also introduce our brand new series where we bring the oldies and the newies. We bring in the old touring cars, classic touring cars, and we bring in the new production car series where every driver will get a chance to drive their favorite cars on the game whilst having a fun night on Thursdays. So we wouldn't have all this series if it wasn't for my co-commentator, who is the series admin and also a five-time Trackstars Touring Car Series champion, multiple round wins, multiple race wins, multiple pole positions, you name it, he's pretty much got everything. And he's also a real life sprint car driver. So down in Adelaide in South Australia, he races around the Murray's Bridge, if anyone wants to know where he races. So cheer him on for the It's Racing. But it's in the It's Racing camp, our series admin and team boss, It's Racing, Jarman Dalitz. How are you going this evening?
Good, thanks, Bud. Yeah, definitely glad to be here and really excited to see what we have in store for us tonight.
So first tonight we have our pre-season race where we actually have this new concept of yours, Jarman. You've actually managed to bring in a pre-season race for everyone to get themselves familiar with the cars and familiar with everybody on track and the track layouts, and basically, just giving everyone a bit of a chance to warm up before we get racing next week. Or actually, no, not next week. This Sunday, actually, on the 7th of February.
Yeah, I thought before we get right into the points races, that we sort of get together for a bit of a fun night where there's no points on the line. It's just some good hard racing. Keep it a bit close, have short sprints, and yeah, hopefully everyone has a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's obviously if it's a speedway style format, so you are very familiar in the world of speedway racing. So run us through it, how it actually all works.
So it's pretty well takes on the speedway style format that you sort of see at most sprint car races, where all the cars do a real quick fire qualifying session. In the case of this, it's about 5 minutes, which gives everyone time to do two, maybe even three laps if they're lucky enough. And then from there, we sort of line everyone up into heat races. So there'll be two heat races per round. So the first round of heats will have the fastest drivers starting at the front, and then for the second round of heats, everyone will invert, and the fastest guys will be coming from the rear, and the slower guys will get a chance to start from the front and maybe even try and hold off those fast guys for a win. And then from that point on, we'll tally all the points up, and the top 12 will be locked in automatically to tonight's 12 lap final, and then the remaining cars will do an 8 lap race with the top four from that going straight through to the final.
Wow, it definitely sounds like more of a demolition derby rather than a speedway style with having the slower cars up the front. So, or we might see but we could see a few surprises tonight. I feel like we've got definitely a few drivers piloting their Lexus cars, the Lexus Group 2 cars, and the Nissan Group 2 cars. But also, funnily enough, we're actually seeing, for the first time in a while, we're actually seeing the returns of the Hondas on the Honda's NSX cars. So with our Trackstars BOP, we have spent hours and days trying to figure out the best balance of performance between all three manufacturers, and we've come into the conclusion where all cars are basically running anywhere between a tenth and a half to 2 tenths. So not super close, like 0.001, but close enough. But I have a feeling that the Hondas tonight could be a dark horse with yourself piloting the leading the way as a manufacturer in the Honda camp.
Yeah, well, obviously I've put in a lot of work myself trying to get the cars balanced, and then on top of that we've got, well, my teammate Deadpool, who's very much a fast driver. I'd say he's probably half a second faster than what I am. And then on top of that, you've got Papa AT as well, and he's very much a fast driver to look out for. That he'll also put the Hondas right up the pointy end, I reckon.
Exactly right, and and basically it kind of evens it out because last year was a very overpopulated with Nissans and Lexus, but last year we were running the BOP that Gran Turismo Sport gave us, so we never really had that investment to spend hours and development to test our own BOP. But we thought season 2021 is it's going to be our biggest season yet, so why not give it a crack?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I mean, with the in-game BOP, everyone drifted towards the Lexus and the Nissan. So we thought with the new season coming up, we can take the opportunity to throw more power, take more weight off the cars, make everything a bit faster with the lap times, and at the same time bring the Honda back into the fold. That maybe it's a bit of an attractive option for most teams, and it puts them on a level playing field.
That's exactly right. And all the names you've brought up that is piloting the Hondas, there are definitely four very competitive drivers piloting the Hondas this year in the main division of the touring car series. We have yourself and a British driver, Deadpool 12. I think it's Dead 23 Pool 12 or 13. I can't not sure what his exact username is, but we'll just go him as Deadpool. We'll call him Mr. Ryan Reynolds. Why not? So you got yourself and Ryan Reynolds piloting the It's Racing camp, and also a brand new team has entered our series. I'm pretty sure everyone would have heard of them before if they've a big fan of the Sector One community. It is CP Motorsport. Yes, they are branching themselves out to Trackstars Racing Series, and they decided to field in two entries where, like you've mentioned before, as a driver, V Papa AT is piloting one car, and the other car is, well, he is our Division 2 Touring Trackstars Formula 2 champ, XX Huso 16X. So, absolutely a huge and a big star-studded lineup in the Hondas.
Yeah, that's for sure. And obviously, the addition of CP Motorsports is a very handy one for the Trackstar series. They're a very committed team, and of course, we've got XX Huso joining, well, moving up from Division 2 to Division 1, and he was a regular in Division 2, and I think he'll be thereabouts this year as well, along with Puffer AT that will also be very fast.
Exactly, and pretty much, and basically, XX Uzo hasn't really done much. He hasn't got himself familiar with the Group Two touring cars yet, but we definitely know he's handy in a Formula car. So I think he's going to definitely bring in a lot of speed and a lot of driver technique to actually be like he was last year. Consistent, not crashing, not taking people out, and just overall having a good race. But it's a bit unfortunate in the CP Motorsport camp where we're actually meant to see the Huso brothers, D Huso, or Daniel Huso, as he is known in real life. He has unfortunately not been able to commit for a whole season for the CP guys, but I rest assured that he will be back for the Enduro series at the Bathurst 1000 and the St. Croix 1500, and we might see him in a sneaky Porsche race or two. We never know.
Yeah, that's definitely one to look out for. Is that the Huso brothers joining up for the two long distance races, well actually three, if I correct myself, because we've got the Kyoto 500 as well. And
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
so those two joining up together, probably racing from the same room, will be very much an advantage when it comes to pit stops and driver changes. I'm sure that might be a sneaky little tactic to try and pick up a Bathurst win, maybe.
And that was basically you doing the same thing last year with your drive with your teammate, where you had the like where you were a local team and you just did a little bit of the old switcheroo, swapping seats, adjusting the seat if it's the pedals are too far forward or the seat was too far back. You never know if they have that little bit of a banter moment between each other. So no, but I think definitely the Huso brothers, and we definitely know, and we absolutely know how well Huso drives in a Group 2. We've seen it in the Bathurst 1000, and man, he's got pace, and it was a big shame that we can't see him this year.
Yeah, that's for sure, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see him at some point, and he'll show everyone what he's capable of, along with his brother Exuso. So should be good to look forward to.
Exactly. And Jarman, I have noticed on the screen that we have a we have a sponsor that is looking after us at Trackstars. Would you mind running us through who they are?
Yes, we've got Elite Brake and Mechanical. They're located in Melbourne. They've come on board and joined as the major sponsor for the Trackstars Touring Car Series. As part of that agreement, they also have naming rights of the Bathurst 1000 as well, so we'll be looking forward to the EBM Bathurst 1000 and also the EBM Trackstars Touring Car Series.
Exactly. And with that deal, we've actually managed to snap up at least two drivers or even four drivers to actually come into our series and bring them into Division 1, where in the touring car series we will have EBM Brandosa and Xiaomi 5, all part of the same factory, all part of the same workshop. They basically have all their simulators and their setups at work, so there definitely won't be short of drivers when it comes to racing or when it comes to a substitute, because boy, they've got a big field of drivers.
Yes, it's been great that the Elite Brake and Mechanical team have decided to enter or field a team in the series as well, and they've got four drivers split across the two, well, the Trackstars Touring Car and the Formula Trackstar series, and so those four drivers will be sort of splitting off, and two will be doing the touring cars and two will be doing the formulas. But there's also quite a big depth in their squad as well, that if one of them can't make it, there's certainly plenty of drivers there that will be more than capable of stepping in and filling the shoes for the night.
100%. And one guy that says I can't make it, and all they have to do is just promote the Division 2 driver up to the main series, and then they just call someone else that's working on the engine or that's working underneath to changing the oil out, and they just like say, "Oi, do you want to race tonight?" And it's just like, "What are we racing?" We could be racing SF19s, Group 2 cars. You win, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I'll race. Why not?" And it's like, "Great, there's a simulator in the workshop, so get your ass there and start practicing."
Yeah,
How
that'll
how,
be
how
very
cool how cool
interesting.
how cool will that be for a lunch break?
Yes,
Sit.
that'd be very good, Smoko.
Exactly, and they are one of three teams piloting the Nissan GTRs, where we also have another team. Well, where very well familiar names in the Division 2 Trackstars Formula 2 series. It is the rise of Shade On Racing. I think Shade On Racing in a Nissan with their two drivers are going to be potential favourites to take out the teams and possibly at least get a top three in the Drivers' Championship. What do you think, Jarman?
Yeah, I think, well, likely Wiseacre has definitely shown a lot of pace, and Wazadon is also very capable of competing in the group as well. So I think they will be a dark horse for across the course of the season. Probably just one thing that might let them down a little bit is some consistency, but I think we saw a lot of consistency at the late stages of the Formula 2 series from likely Wiseacre.
And that consistency for Laiku Wiseacre definitely helped him in this championship, because when he was in a championship, he wasn't nowhere near a championship fight after Maggiore, where he had to bail out because he had an emergency, and then we didn't see him for the next round. But then as soon as he came back, he just switched on and became a different driver, driving from last place on at Spa-Francorchamps to first on in basically with one sector to go. So hadn't led a lap, and he managed to win the race on one sector.
Yeah, no, he definitely does have a lot of form at the backstage of last season, and I think judging from a bit of practice speeds, I think they have put in a fair bit of work over the off season. So maybe they'll find that consistency in the main series that they sort of have been lacking a little bit when they made the jump up. But I think maybe it was a feel out season last year.
Exactly, and obviously we weren't running the touring car series when we brought them into the series. So it's a debut it's the debut for Shadon Racing, motors for Shadon Racing to tackle on these Group 2 beasts, but and also will be returning in the Nissan GTR the defending teams champions RoboSport Racing, who will have an unchanged lineup in Lurox underscore 22 and Farrell PS from, I want to say, Malaysia. I do need to check up on that flag, or it could be Singapore. I'm not sure, but
Have a
he is
feeling it's Indonesia actually.
yes, it is. I've just seen that it is blue and red. Yes, I do apologize, Farrell, if you are watching this. You are an Indonesian driver piloting an Aussie driver, and man, those two have become quite a very strong team, and they've been tackling other main teams in the series, haven't they?
Yes, and well, obviously Farrelps came in and basically his first meeting he was right on the pace and up front and won a race, but he dropped back a little bit after that. But in the formulas he showed a lot of pace as well and took that magnificent win at Laguna Seca where he just led into turn one and drove away from everyone. And then of course Lurox is pretty well fast everywhere he goes, so he'll be a threat for the championship. Or both
And
of them will actually.
any car he drives, he knows how to steer it. So he's always one to keep an eye out on. And when you're not on his good side, he will make you pay. So I think we've seen that once in a while, haven't we?
We have seen it probably 2 or 3 times here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
that
no,
team will be very tough to beat, and they've even got, well, a very handy reserve in Little Blacko, who was a title contender in the touring cars until probably the last few rounds where he dropped out. So that'll be, well, it will be one you will not underestimate when you see him come in as a reserve. You'll know that it probably is not getting any easier.
absolutely not. And I definitely feel like if Farrell says to his guys, I can't race for the next 8 races because I have something on, and then yep, definitely Little Blacko in that Nissan GTR. We knew what he was capable of in the GTR last year, so we won't be surprised of his instant pace, and him and Lurox in the same camp. It is quite daunting. They came second as a team, as a pair in the Bathurst 1000 last year. Was very close on the verge of winning that race, but just finished up behind EBM Brandosa and Speedy Tyres in the EBM RoboSport camp. So there are our Nissan drivers. Now we're on to our new Lexus drivers. We have a new team and a familiar name in the Trackstar series, or at least with our series managers. We have the debuting Pit Lane Esports. Racing under the racing drivers will be DJX Pointed or Disappointed and Jake C123. So what do we know about these drivers, Jarman?
Well, Disappointed actually joined us for the Porsche Cup in the late stages of last season, and he was racing in the Elite Division, and him and Xiami and I think Dirty Sanchez and the Pope were all basically locked in a 4-way battle for race wins at one point, and I think a few of us pro drivers were getting a bit jealous because of the really great battles that they were having, and then Disappointed joined, I'll call the top split for the final round, and he certainly mixed it up with the pro drivers as well, and there was some ripper races in that, so I think he'll definitely hold his own in the main series and even contend for wins at some stage.
And I've known like disappointed or DJ, we'll say it in short. I've known DJ since the game came out. Probably I would say 3 or 4 months or so into the game. We met each other in a group three lobby, and yeah, we just connected on very well. We just both showed that we were quite fast and unique on those cars, and then we changed our style of racing and we changed categories. And for myself personally, I definitely know he is a driver. He is definitely going to be flying under the radar this year.
Oh, well, it depends whose radar he's on. I think for me, I'd definitely say he's very much capable of top fives each week, so he'd be very much on my radar every time we hit the track, and I know that, yeah, I'll have to, if I'm in front of him, I'll have to watch my mirrors because he might be coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he is. But we do know he is a great driver. And JXC123 making his debut in the Trackstars Touring Car Series. He is a well-known regular face in the Pit Lane Esports Series, where they last year they wrapped up their Supercar Series, where series admin and founder Shane Kent designs and replicates V8 supercars, the Australian Touring Car Series. For those that are watching in a different country, he basically replicates the paint jobs of the 2020 cars or 2020 cars and puts them on a BMW M4 Group 4 and a Ford Mustang Group 4, and he made a series called a Supercar Series. And you and I were a part of that team. We're a part of that series, which was great fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think we tried to replicate the Wilkinshaw team, although I think you were a bit more of the Chaz Mostert than I was, and I was probably a bit more of the Bryce Forward.
Even though our liveries were quite reversed,
Yes.
you had Chaz, I had forward. So, he's always going to have that up and coming driver like a forward. So, basically, who knows? We could see Jakesy become like a Bryce Forward, like a dark horse, and then one race he could sneak a podium here or there. So it's definitely one of the drivers to look out for. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure, and I mean, through the Supercar series racing with him, he was very much a consistent driver, and he was always there or thereabouts, so he'll be one to look out for as well.
100%. And they themselves are not really they're not really short of drivers either, because their community is quite huge. They've just recently got a Discord, and they are recently on their Wednesday, and they have a race every Wednesday night, which they bring the pit lane community together, and they bring themselves some fast style racing action. Where this year, well, actually tonight, actually they actually did or Wednesday night, we'll say in past presence, we will say they did a touring car. They did a TCR event, so front wheel drive cars, and just BOP no tune and just send it, I guess. So now they did say they're a big community. They are back on the rise again. They're making their names they're sending their name out there, spreading their name, and we definitely think Trackstars is a great opportunity to expand their community base.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll grow. Will get a lot of recognition through racing with us, and we're probably growing our series through being involved with them as well. And I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping into the TCR series at some stage, wherever I can. But yeah, should be a lot of fun.
So long as you're not working on the race car, then yeah, definitely you'll have plenty of time to jump in and have some fun.
Yeah, that's right. It probably might be a couple of weeks away, but I think we'll get there.
And then basically the last team of the Lexus drivers. So basically, no, it doesn't need any introduction. I mean, I don't want to gloat too much. So probably Jarman, you can introduce the last team in the Lexus.
Yes, it's the team of the defending Formula Trackstars team champions, and then also the driver who took out not only the Trackstars Touring Car Series but also the Pro Division of the Porsche Cup and the Formula Trackstar Series. It's Mash Spuds Racing with N Spud P666 as the lead driver. Well, probably designated as the lead driver, but also his teammate Punce is very much capable of showing the same pace as Spud as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you said, we are a team, and we are like a very strong team. Any one of us can, on our days, one of us can show our true pace. And definitely my teammate Punz has shown a lot of pace. He's very fast with his one lap pace. He has such good consistency when it comes to practice and qualifying. The only thing that really hindered him last year was his racecraft, and he knew that straight away that his racing wasn't really good enough, and he wants to make amends this year.
Yeah, well, that's it's definitely a good opportunity, and I mean, through doing more races, I'm sure it's going to get better and better. And he's picked up some race wins here and there, so it's definitely like it's not existent. But yeah,
Exactly. It is
it'll
not it is
grow.
not exactly. It's not the end of the world for him, and basically he's had a long break now, so he's just jumped off the game for a couple of months. It's just to recharge his batteries, and just and then jump. And now he's going to jump on the track tonight for the speedway style derby, and he's just going to get a handle of these cars to see what they're like. So we've basically run through as a team of our main drivers and our reserve drivers, and like us ourselves, we're not short of reserve drivers as well. So yeah, we have like a we are well, we as a team, we're excited, we're ready to go. Like I myself as the defending champion, ready to go and ready to defend my titles with at least 13 great drivers in our division. So I'm really looking forward to the next 46 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, hard slog, but I think at the end of it, it'll be very rewarding to see yourself. If you're up the pointy end of the standings, you'll be very glad that you stuck with it.
That's right. Well, like I said, hopefully we can get there, but one race at a time. So one race at a time. We need everyone to basically get their feet unwrapped under these cars and get a handle of them and get the tunings to perfection, and then just roll the car out on race day and put it on the front row. So fingers crossed for myself and Punts, we can be like a Mercedes and just lock out the front row. But we do have some competition. But one team, Jarman, that missed out in the Division One Gridline Racing. It is an unfortunate shame that we couldn't uh, put these guys in, because we had a very strong lineup of drivers, and their resumes and what they brought to the field was outstanding. And I wouldn't say Gridline Racing's resume wasn't outstanding. It was absolutely outstanding and very strong, and a strong case to promote them into Division One. But they just missed out. But I think by the benefit of the doubt between the series managers.
Yeah, it was a very close vote between the two. I mean, it was split either way. And yeah, unfortunately they missed out, but yeah, they've got a very strong driver lineup, and I think in tonight's races, like a couple guys like Ando and Highlander have jumped in to race along with Benjo, and maybe tonight they'll have a bit of a point to prove and try and get up the pointy end and show us that maybe we made a mistake.
Absolutely, and and showing the series managers that you've made a mistake in not promoting these guys, and the other team that we also had to vote on don't show up and don't put in the performance that we expected of them. Then yeah, we've definitely made a mistake. So Gridline Racing, Ando 787 and Highlander 215, along with their co-founder Benjo GLR 19, will definitely be wanting to put a mark on the Trackstars community.
Yeah, and they've definitely got a good chance to do it tonight with the open format or open entries and sort of the format that we're running under. It gives them a good chance to show what they're capable of.
And this format is great, because in this format we've actually opened up we've actually opened up to anybody. So anybody that wants to have a drive in the Division Two series and the TS2 series, and they're free we're free on a Sunday night. They say, "Can I race?" And we will say, "Of course you can race." So we're going to see quite a lot of Tier 2 drivers tonight, as well as the main drivers, and we're going to see hopefully we see quite some good head-to-head battles and possibly some head scratches for team managers thinking, why didn't I promote this guy into the first division?
Yes, very much the case. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that'll probably be racing the TS2 series this year. Looking at guys like Xylon and Mickey Z, JMX, Saltash Racer, Robo Sport as well, the team manager of Robo Sport. So,
He's made
oh,
the transition. He's made the transition down to the second division, so because he wanted to heavily focus on Lurox and Farrell progressing the team forwards, and he has put his hand up to be a reserve driver, but only behind Little Blacko. So he will be really focusing on his Division Two commitments. And as and what we saw last year, at least in the Formula Series, in the Formula Two Series, he managed to score his first podium in Trackstars. So do we think we could see more podiums for RSR Robo Sport?
it's very much possible in the Division 2 series as well, and obviously the other thing tonight gives us, well, gives these guys a chance to sample the full power and weight of this, well, the Group 2 machinery in the main series spec, and it sort of gives them an idea of what they're in for if they ever do make the step up, and maybe give them something to aspire to if they enjoy it.
Absolutely, and that's what we all hope for all our reserve drivers. That all team managers, every single team manager that we have in a Division One that runs a field of 4 to 5 to possibly 10 drivers. Maybe I'm talking about the EBM camp, but even those kind of drivers, and they look up to the main division, and they say, I want to have a crack at that, and they show up tonight, and like you said, yeah, point it, make a statement, and get a handle of the cars. So if they need a call up, at least they've got an event under their belt.
Yeah, that's for sure, and it also gives them and also the main series drivers experience of racing around each other. That if they do get a call up, they know how each driver races, and also the other thing to keep in mind is come the endurance races when a lot of these guys are called in as co-drivers, they can also hold their own as well.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So no one is short of drivers, and every single team manager will be keeping an eye on their drivers throughout the whole 2021 season. But as we wrap up our talking points, let's look through the qualifying results. So qualifying has just finished for the track. Sorry, my apologies, for the EBM Trackstars Touring Car Series Dragon Trail Derby. So our qualifying results, we have the Papa AT, the newcomer in the CP Motorsport camp, and the Honda has taken pole position on it with a 1 minute 21.9. And second place is five times champion It's Racing in the Honda, who's just scored a 122.3. And right behind him, closely behind him by literally hundreds and thousands of a second, and Spud P666, the reigning touring car series champion in third. Lurox, who was runner-up in 2020 behind Spud, is in fourth place with a 122.6. Newcomer, likely Wise Acre in the Nissan for the Shade On Racing, really definitely living up to the hype of the team.
Yes, and then of course in sixth place we've got Trover Jujo, who is jumping in as a last minute entry and probably looking to be one, will shake up the established stars. And then in seventh place it's a gridline driver with that team looking to state their case for promotion. It's Ando 787 with a 122.955. In eighth is EBM Brandosa 34 in the EBM Motorsports Nissan with a 123.174. D Huso, who's making a guest appearance tonight, he's jumped into one of the Mash Spuds Racing Lexus cars, and he's done a 123.381. And then
And
rounding
I
out the
and
top
I
10 is Little Blacko, who's also making a guest appearance for Robo Sport in the Nissan with a 123.497.
and I do see D Huser repping out his Bathurst 1000 liveries, looking very schmick. As a team owner, I loved making that livery. It was so good, and And yeah, to see it back on track again, it just melts my heart.
Yeah, it
But in
does.
11th,
It does look a little out of place on a Lexus rather than Nissan, but I still enjoy seeing it very much.
exactly. But rounding outside the top 10, we have Highlander 215 in the Lexus, in rounding up in 11th place. And 12th place is the lead driver of the second division of the Mash Spuds Racing, sponsored by Toll, Xylon 96, inheriting N Spuds Racing number 32, starting in 12th position. He'll be making a claim to his team to hopefully get himself up and familiar with these cars and learn the ways of tuning. He set himself a 123.6, so still quite a good time for him. In 13th place for Road Sick Racing, it is Kez Audio, who is making also a guest appearance in the Trackstars Touring Car Series for the Derby. He's put in a very nice time in his Nissan in a 123.9. And 14th, we have Division 2 Robo Sport Racing driver Mickey's 123 in the Nissan with a 123.9. And in 15th place is the first driver in the Pit Lane Esports representative. It is the Car 24 DJ X Pointed in the Lexus.
Yes, and then moving on from there, we've got Saltash Racer 83 in one of the reserve Mash Spuds cars in 16th. Another teammate of Mash Spuds Racing, JMX, in 17th. The EBM Motorsport second car of Bozza 777 in 18th place. RoboSport Racing team manager RSR RoboSport in 19th. And then a guest appearance from TCF Old Boy 75 in 20th.
So it's really nice to see a lot of guest appearances from all these drivers. So we do thank our community for jumping in and having a bit of fun on a Sunday night. So we do appreciate that, guys. So thank you very much. But in rounding up the last 5 placings on the grid, we have Benjo GLR 19, the co-founder of Gridline Racing, definitely wanting to make a claim to the managers why they should have picked Gridline instead of the other teams in the car 19. Another guest appearance is a Belgian driver, Devlin Calypso, who is piloting the 90 car, the 90 entry. In 23rd place, we have Jakesy123 in the second entry of the Pit Lane E Series. Set himself, I wouldn't say he set himself a lap time. He just didn't, made a mistake and maybe had some engine damage.
Yeah,
And also other drivers in 24th and 25th, Poons and Deadpool, also didn't set a lap time. So I think the 5 minutes definitely went fast, didn't it?
yes, it very much did, and I think one driver in Punts, I believe, found himself sitting in pit lane with the time running out, and then obviously Jakesy got out on track, but obviously had a few issues on his laps and didn't probably quite set the lap time that he really wanted to set. And then of
Exactly.
course there's Deadpool, who unfortunately I think missed the session. I think he might have had a little bit of a sleep in.
Considering he is from the UK and the time difference, I wouldn't doubt it. So that's okay. But we will be keeping our eyes on those back two punts in the Mash Buds and Deadpool in the Lexus, in the Honda. I do apologise. But for the first round, for the first heats, we have V Papa AT up front and Spud P666 in the front row, followed by Likely Wiseacre and 0787 in fourth. DQ's 014 in the 119 in fifth, whilst for the second driver for Gridline Racing, Highlander 215 in sixth place. So 2 drivers in the top 6 for Gridline Racing, definitely making a name for themselves. In 7th place, in the 72, Kez Audio in his Nissan, with 8th place, DJX Pointed in the Lexus. So Nissan versus Lexus from the front row, from the 4th row, I apologise. But as well, we have JMX in the first, Toll MSR car in 9th, and RoboSport Racing, our team manager and our series manager, in 10th place. Whilst we round up 3 drivers from Gridline Racing, Benjo will be starting in 11th place. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not Formula 1. He doesn't get a free choice of tyres, so he will be starting on the tyres he did qualify on. In 11th place, 12 is Jakesy123, and rounding up in 13th place is Punts, with not having set a time, but will be one to keep an eye on. As we're coming up towards the bus, beautiful Croatian Grand Prix at track racing, so right on the harbour side of inside on the front row of the grid, but looks like likely Wiseacre has taken that traction control to his advantage, and he's making himself well known to Anspart Pip 666, so he is no slouch. Coming into the first corner, he's too deep, he still holds it up and managed it perfectly. It's Anspart Pip 666 down in second place. Ando made a mistake. It looks like Nicky Puppets made a few mistakes back there, so what happened to him? We'll catch that out on the replay a bit later on. Ando 787 in his Nissan GTR in third place. Highland 2.5 making it top of my race. But it looks like Ando's going to make a move on the outside of Anspart of the champion. Side by side. What a lovely move from Ando 787 there. Putting balls to the wall for Anspart. So I know you're going to miss me in Division 1, mate. So unfortunately, but he's going to Anspart thinks no, mate, you're in my league. So I guess it quickly work there. So unfortunately, you're going to get that position back. So you've had a second as they come to the left channel. There's also DQ, so in fourth place they can go to Death Chicane or Chicane Death or the bus stop, wherever you want to go. PG could be G4, no red show. Highland 215 in fifth place. Oof, what a lot of action.
Yeah, it's a very close first lap. As we're coming around the final corner, it looks like a big bunch of cars here, all running side by side, disappointed leading the way. Papa
nearly
18.
4 wide behind them.
Yeah, it's
4 wide between Papa and Pulse and Kes Audio and Robbo Sport. Wow, settle down, boys. This is the second lap. I know it's a derby, but it's not a demolition derby.
No, very much so, and obviously Pulse is looking to make his way through the field with the no qualifying time. Has left him on 0 points and starting at the back of the first heat, so he's got a bit of ground to make up if he wants to qualify for that final.
He made himself up into 8th place from last 8th is a great start for him. So it looks like all disappointed, had a bad run from there. But Kes Audio around the outside, can he get 2 drivers with this momentum? I believe so, and he's actually pushed DJ out wide onto the track. DJ dropped a few positions there. I don't know if he spun out, but 3 wide between J Max, Robbo, and Kes. Who's going to come out on top? It is Robbo. Is he braking too deep? I believe so, because J Max has got to push him out wide, and he takes that big muscles his way through the 8th place. Wow. So I believe I saw disappointed there, making him say, "Whoa! Somebody's hit the wall there. Who was that?" I believe that must have been.
I think it was JMX.
Oh, it was JMX. Oh, the tall match-budged racing driver making a mistake. That is very disappointing him. So it actually, speaking about disappointing, DJ must have been shot right at coming out the exit there. So something that we didn't catch there. We did see a bit of dust, but we didn't see much of him.
Obviously escaped the cameras to a degree. I'm not sure what happened to him, but yeah, he's dropped back all the way to last place in the field at the moment. While we're on to lap 3 as we head back towards the front. Ando's still in second place with Anspart P666 lurking behind, looking for a way to get past if Ando does make a mistake. So head for the S's.
Coming down towards the harvest sea waters of the Adriatic Sea. Coming down towards this last section. It kind of reminds me of the Monaco Grand Prix, because we have a bus stop and we have a time limit. So it's basically going Monaco Grand Prix backwards, but this time it's actually a lot faster.
Yeah, it's very much it's probably a bit like the swing section where you've got to be very precise with the car placement. One probably about 10 mil out of the line, and you find yourself into some Armco barriers and a very big crash. And of course, the tunnel section, it's a bit of a Monaco feel to it. Probably describe it as a Monaco with passing.
Exactly. Well, at least with this track, we have at least three great opportunities for drivers to make their move. Oh, Ando runs out right onto the dirt, because that means Anspart's going to get a run on Ando's out on the outside. He goes into the gap, he slides him through and doesn't make that stick, or not quite. He doesn't make sure he doesn't get that stick, unfortunately. That was an ambitious move for Anspart, but looks like he's going to go Ando 787 and taking that position. So a very risky move for Anspart, but he managed to pull it off.
Yeah, paid off very well for Anspart there. Not sure what happened to Ando coming out of that corner. It looked like he had a good run and then slowed up, so don't know whether he thought that he did something wrong there and just readdressed the situation. But
Yeah,
from my eye, it didn't look like there was too much in anything there.
no, and I think that was just very, very impressive performance. But and they made a mistake on that first at the end of that first chicane. Like I was saying, like this track has many opportunities for passing. Basically the track is kind of shaped like shaped like a triangle, so it's got three hairpins layout, so three hairpins, three great passing opportunities, especially this shooting passing into this first corner, which leads anywhere line to turn two. And lurking behind hasn't lost time to Anspot, so that mistake must have been a one-off. But on the final lap, it was luckily Wise Acre just running away with his victory between him and Anspot. Oh, Anspot, he's just done it again, but he runs himself wide and into the gravel. Oh, he's done it two laps in a row. He's just made that same mistake again. He's not patient enough. But his teammate, Putz, is going to take fifth place, and he's got Highlander 2.5 taking fourth place. So great result for Ando and Highlander for the Gridline Racing team.
Yes, very much so. It's certainly shown that Gridline can mix it amongst the regular teams that have been selected for the main series, and certainly definitely putting in a very good performance at the start of the night. And these points will be very handy come later on when we decide our routes for the finals.
Exactly. And basically coming up towards that final corner, we see likely Wise Acre coming through that final chicane. It is not chicane, I'm a hairpin. What am I saying, Nick? It's likely Wise Acre. Shadon Racing on debut with the Group 2 cars wins the Trackstars Touring Car Series Derby Heat 1. Followed by Amber 787. Great showings for a double podium. D. Hughes over his guest appearance in the fourth place with Highlander and Woods and Spud and V Papa rounding out the top of seventh. There's Audio in eighth, J Max in ninth, and DJ, who's made his way up the World Cup after that incident on lap 2 in 10th, with Benjo, Jakesy, and a very distant Robbo Sport in 13th. So, what do you think? I think looks like Shadon is no slouch in the park, are they?
No, it's very much a repeat of the Trackstars Formula 2 last year, where we've got likely Wise Acre running away with the win, and then a couple of drivers in D. Huso and Nando right behind as well.
And Robbo just having a little bit of fun, a bit of banter. He's going to cross the line. Yes, he will. So, great job, Robbo, in 13th place. So that was a great showing from everybody. So we have up now. We have the results page. We have likely Wise Acre taking the victory in a very fast-paced race, just a bit clocking over 7 minutes 1 second. In second place, Ando 787, a great showing for Ando and Gridline Racing, and D Hughes making a guest appearance. I would say he's a CP Motorsport driver, but for tonight he's representing Mash Spuds Racing, so we'll call it even there. In third place, so a great showing for a guest appearance, D. Huso. In fourth place, also a great performance, Highlander 215. So, Jarman, do you think we've actually made a mistake early? Do you think we've made a mistake, or is it too early to call?
I think it's too early to call, but at this stage it's looking like there's two very strong drivers from Gridline Racing representing themselves, so you could nearly say that it's very much up for debate at the moment, and they're definitely putting the case forward.
Absolutely. And rounding up the rest of the grid, we have Punz in 5th, coming up from 13th to 5th, so great showing by Punz. We definitely know what he's capable of, and I myself, as his teammate, definitely know what he's capable of. Myself and Spud P666 made a mistake coming up to the back end of that track on the double right-hander, just taking too much curb, 2 laps in a row. The second time round, not so lucky at all. And rounding up in 7th, V Papa AT on debut for CP Motorsport in 7th place with Kez Audio. In 8th, JMX after a recovery drive in 9th, and DJ in 10th place. So he'll be a little bit disappointed, DJ, and his teammate Jakesy in 10th and 12th. So something to look at come the next few heats, isn't that right?
Yes, it's been a very slow start for the pit lane team, but maybe they're sort of finding their feet in the cars a little bit, and maybe we might see more to come from them later on in the night.
Absolutely. So we have plenty of heats to go. We have at least another 5 heats, I believe, we have to go. So everyone's going to have a chance of racing in their own heats. So fingers crossed, we get to see the pit lane boys show what they are worth. But as we are getting ready now for Heat 2, we have It's Racing on pole position in his beloved and the return of the Honda NSX for the It's Racing Esport camp, with Lurox 2020 or with Lurox 22 in the Nissan in as the runner-up for the Trackstars Touring Car Series in 2020, lining up in second with newcomer EBM Brandosa for EPM Motorsport, rounding up the top three. Little Blacko, Lurox's co-driver, in fourth place, so they'll be having a nice little inter-team battle and maybe help each other out during the race. So we'll wait and see. In fifth place, we have Cylon 96 in the Toll MSR with Mick Ease. So a line astern for Robbo Sport Racing there. So it worked out very conveniently for them. Whether it was a tactic or whether it was just they just didn't show at their pace in qualifying, we'll never know. And in seventh place, Saltash Racer, a guest appearance and a reserve driver for Mash Spuds Racing. In seventh place with Bozza, they're also a reserve driver for EBM Motorsport. In eighth, TCF Old Boy, I wouldn't say old boy, he's a new boy. He's new to the series. So in ninth place, then Devlin Calippo is definitely a new boy in the series in 10th, and whilst rounding up the final place on the grid on 11th place on debut for It's Racing Esports, it's Deadpool in his Honda NSX teaming up with It's Racing for season 2021.
It looks like I made a mistake there with the graphics and accidentally put
myself,
Lexus down.
I thought we'd time travel to 2020. And
yeah,
you guys are running the Lexus cars.
Yeah, let's not go back there again.
Anyway, so that rounds up our 11 cars on the grid. And as we come out towards the lights, we see the beautiful bright green shading of the It's Racing Esports Honda NSX taking up that front row, sliding Brandosa and like behind. As we're going away, green flag racing. It's racing. It looks like he's got a poor start again, so it's two races in a row with the pole position being into a bad start. And Lurox 22 is coming up into the first corner. He's about to take the lead from Blacko, his teammate, his co-driver and teammate, in second place with It's Racing, and Mickey is making it brief top four. But now Soltash Race is taking that position. In fifth place, and It's Racing is taking a bit of curve. Blacko's actually gone down fourth, so he's made a little mistake on the track somewhere. Blacko drops down fourth, and Soltash Racing comes up third. Mickey's 1, 2, 3 behind, so we've got ourselves the top five of Sport Racing in the TCF Old Boy 75. Sixth place with EBM Brandosa, the first coming out tonight. We're on seventh place, Black Racing with Saltash, Saltash is going to cut back side by side to the chicane. I'm not so sure that's wise for them to do that, but they're going to stick with the Black Racing. Better of any to back out, so well done, Saltash. Someone's at the wall. I don't know who that was. It's a TCF Old Boy. Also making a mistake as well. So there we go. Another name fights in this on the death chicane. Oh, there's a bit of contact back there between the two foreigners, between the Belgium and the British. So wow, it's a bit large there between those two. They're having bragging rights to be who's going to be the fastest European in contract stage.
Yeah, at this stage it looks like Devlin Calypso is winning that, but it's a long race, and I'm sure Deadpool coming from the back might make up a few places as we look back at the leaders, and we've got Lurox heading down to the chicane in the lead, with It's Racing in tow, chasing behind, looking to close up the gap, I would say.
Exactly. And Lurox 22 last year had a good shot on this track in the second round in the Tour de France, was qualifying position, and definitely scored himself well and high into the top five. So he's definitely a favourite track of his, and last year was really placed in the series around drag. trail. Oh, but he's actually hit the wall. He's made a mistake. As I make that commentator's curse yet again on my end, Lyrox 22 makes a mistake running the death chicane at the chicane dead. So that is nail biting for a lead. That is heartbreaking for a leader to hit the chicane death.
Yeah, it's very much a tough one to get right. Obviously, with these more powerful cars, it's harder to hold it flat through there. You very quickly find yourself on the wrong side of things if you don't get your turning points quite right.
And as you can see, the Lyrox 22, I believe he's probably got some heavy damage.
Yeah.
Heavy hit.
Yeah, but it's very much a heavy hit enough. You can see his speed's compromised a bit. The light damage model, I think, just wearing away now. It looks like he's back up to full speed and he will start attacking these cars in front of him.
So let's check out the end of the race, how far he comes up. It's racing and Saltash Racer, Larry Browning at the top of the fourth place. So we've got a score racing race. Saltash has a bit of a track record to get rid of, so probably get this at the end of this part of the circuit. He's going to break himself. Yep, he's done that, and too wide, and he spins it, and he half spins it. Oh, that's very unfortunate for Saltash. He's trying to go with his penalty. Got a bit too eager on the throttle, and yep, bobs are up. Round she goes.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in these cars, up to 750 horsepower, so you've got to be very careful when you get on the throttle and how you do it. Otherwise you find yourself spinning the wheels and losing traction very quickly. You find yourself pointing the wrong way.
And this is where tuning and consistency in running these cars and practice laps off days really helps out the drivers that are also competing tonight, that are competing in Division 1, but also the Division 2 drivers that need to come into their own just in case the main drivers make it. So that's why every team manager is looking at these drivers, looking at these Division 2 drivers, wanting to know, getting feedback from them, asking them what they need, what help they need, understand the car, and also make themselves progress up the field.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, for the newer guys, it sort of gives them an opportunity to get a feel for the cars, see what improvements they need to make and what feedback to give. Also for the team managers, what support they can give to these drivers as well.
Exactly. You're seeing it right now on camera. It's Mickey's 1, 2, 3, so 6. These guys are definitely Division 2 drivers, but definitely not showing themselves they're Division 2 drivers. Silas made a bit of a mistake there, so picking himself for that. But yeah, basically Mickey's 1, 2, 3 is have no troubles at all. I don't think.
No, he's very well adapting to this so far, and I'm sure when he drops into Division 2 with a bit less power, he'll be very much at home. Be able to keep it forward a bit more. As the second year's racing driver Deadpool moves past Brandosa down the main straight, moves up into fourth place. A very good effort from the rear of the field.
Absolutely, and to have 11 drivers from the fourth, basically like what Lucas did in the first heat, so from 13 to 5th. So those guys, like I said at the start of the podcast, there's definitely two drivers we had to keep an eye on when it comes to driving. So that was definitely showing. It looks like It's Racing is just running away ahead of Little Blacko. Rounding up the podium on a solid result for him. Deadpool place also. It's Racing Esports Camp and EBM Ground Racing 5. And as I said before, we'll have to keep an eye on the rocks. He's moved himself back up into 6th place. So a nice recovery drive for him. But as we round the final for our series admin and team boss of It's Racing Esports, it is It's Racing himself taking the victory. Second in the Trackside Touring Car Series Dragon Trail and setting the fastest lap on the way off to victory. Little Black second place behind him. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations for a great running. Third place is your results on a best effort, so well done. As we round up towards the back of the grid, Silent, Bozza and Saltash come across the line with Devlin Calippo rounding up the top 10 with TCF Old Boy making a mistake on that last death chicane. not so sure, but rounding up in 11th place, he'll just be happy to finish. So as we see our results grid, we have It's Racing definitely taking away the victory there between him and Little Blacker. So great showing for It's Racing and his performance in his his returning Honda NSX, scoring himself the big 100 points for him and his team. Again, also clicking over 7 minutes 1 seconds, but as I'm looking at the time and as I recall the numbers, he actually went a little bit quicker than likely was. So it's something to see for the future between It's Racing and Likely Wiseacre, maybe later on in the heats.
Yeah, it could be either in the next round of heats if they're both together, or in the final even. They could be
Yep,
starting close to each other, and it could be an interesting battle.
100%. And as we look down the rest of the grid, with Little Blacko in second place, making a few little mistakes here and there, not finding the consistency that he needs to challenge for the win, but hopefully, fingers crossed, that he'll pick himself up for either Heat 3 or Heat 4, wherever he's in, and challenge for those wins. While Mick Keys 123 scores a podium on his debut in the Group 2 car, so congratulations to Mick Keys. Deadpool, also the second driver of the It's Racing Esports camp, making a great drive from 11th to 4th with EBM Brandosa with our backing sponsors Elite Brake and Mechanical in 5th place in his Nissan GTR. Rounding out the rest of the grid, we have Lurox 22 in 6th place, while 7th place Cylon 96 inherits that in his Lexus, in his Toll MSI Lexus, with Bozza 777 in 8th place, with Saltash at 83, having that unfortunate spin at the seaside hairpin, a bit too much power, and just spun him round, with Devlin Calipper, our Belgian guest driver, in 10th place, while TCF Old Boy rounds up the 11 drivers finished for Heat 2. So as we look at the points towards after the first two heats, we have It's Racing scoring himself on pole position in the points in first place with 129 points, 3 points ahead of Likely Wiseacre. So both race winners in the first two heats. So as we said, definitely going to be a close one between It's Racing and Likely Wise.
Yes, very much so. And at this stage, all that's really separating them is the qualifying points that they receive for their qualifying times. Probably Jarman's second position qualifying has been the difference in that so far, and obviously with guys like Papa AT and Spud and Lurox having below par races and making a couple of mistakes, it's sort of opened a door for him to jump up a bit.
That's very true, and we do see other drivers as well. So it's early days. Early days. We can't call a championship here unless It's Racing wants to call a championship and come home with a trophy. He can.
Definitely not at this stage. There's definitely another round of heats to come, and with all the drivers coming from the back, there's very much a need to have a level head in the second race and pick your battles and slowly work your way through the field rather than ploughing through and potentially
Absolutely.
damaging yourself.
100%, and you can definitely see guys in like Deadpool and Punts in 15th and 19th that without that qualifying time, they've hindered themselves. They've actually put themselves on the back foot. So it definitely shows that you needed to qualify to get yourself high up on the grid.
Yes, you needed the qualifying to set yourself up, and sort of qualifying up front and then getting away in that first race sort of really sets your night up very well, that you're pretty well qualified into the final already, barring any major catastrophes. But obviously Deadpool and Punts had strong results in the first heat, and that's actually vaulted them into contention to make the final, but at this stage it's probably looking like a sort of midfield start for the final if they do well in their third heat.
100%, and basically for those guys to come through the field, it kind of reminds me of the daily races where you jump in a daily race, you don't qualify, and then you're just basically trying to do a last to first challenge. And we all know usually a last to first challenge is quite hard, but I think drivers like Deadpool and Punz, they definitely show that they are drivers that can start from the rear and get themselves up high on the grid. So it's definitely I'll definitely give my congratulations to them for those successful drives. But as we're looking forward now, as we get into our third heat, we are looking at Punz actually on the front row of the grid. So great job for him to obviously not set a time, but this is a place for redemption for Punz and Deadpool up at the front two rows.
Yes, it's definitely a very tasty battle coming up at this stage between those two. We know that Punts is a very fast driver along with Deadpool as well, so both of them will be eager to take a win here and build up the points.
Absolutely, and I believe this heat looks like it's definitely probably one of the strongest grids. If you're looking at the drivers like Punz, Deadpool, even D Huso, likely wise, V Papa, Lurox, Brandosa. It's definitely a heat that you don't want to be in. So I do feel for the rest of the other guys that they have drivers like that and they're thinking, oh, what am I doing here? Can I back out? Can I quit?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a very few, well, there's probably 3 or 4 at the back that will very much be charging through the grid. And then obviously the 2 at the front will be looking to make a very quick getaway to make sure that they're a bit out of reach from those fast guys at the back.
Very true. And as we look through the grid, it's Benjo in third place behind Punz in his Lexus car, followed by JMX in his also Lexus car, so Lexus second row. And looks like it's going to be Saltash 83 in fifth place with Kez Audio in sixth in his Nissan. Alongside him will be Xylon 96 and D Huso, basically repping out the Mash Spuds Racing Lexuses on the fourth row of the grid, followed by EBM Brandosa 34 and likely wise Acar in ninth and 10th, whilst at the back of the grid it is two fast drivers that'll be looking to make their way through the field. As we look towards the guys Dragon Trail Series, Heat 3 of the Dragon Trail Derby. There's 5 lights, points of lights out, green flag racing. We have Punce's getting a bit of a squirmy there, but Deadpool has come along side by side, has taken the lead on the first initial phase at the start. Punce might be getting on the inside. No, he won't, because Benjo's there on the outside. We're going to take a move. Saltash 83 makes a vicious move, but what a move by Benjo on the outside on a race-winning driver, Saltash. Great move in his Lexus car into Gridline Racing. As we look towards the back, we have Likely Vice Acre, who's actually made himself a great start. As a matter of fact, he's had a tail-heavy car. Maybe just change his tune from the last race. I don't know why. He won his first heat. Up in fifth place is Likely Vice Acre. He's a right behind the JMX as well. They're the toll racing drivers from right behind. D Hughes has about to make an inside move on Likely Wise. Very ambitious, very aggressive from Likely Wise to cut him off, but makes it stick and he sits back and just wants to not have any part of that looking up towards the group is running away with the victory. Oh, looks like someone's made a mistake there. Who was that? Somebody up at the front. I believe that was Benjo who's up in second place, but Benjo has made a mistake there. She came down and then he's dropped himself down to 7th, so what was looking like a great result in the first lap, he's just dropped himself down back into 7th, so it's probably just the pressure of the nerves that got to him. As we're looking up towards the rest of the grid, it is Deadpool 12 that is up in front, and looks like, oh well, if this pack starts skirting around and making a mess, we're definitely not going to have Deadpool to run away with this victory. It is Punz and D Huso in second and third place, with Saltash Racer in 4. So our top 4 National Racing drivers all working together to run away, to help each other run away from the rest of the field. We're likely to last over and Benjamin 2022 has come from the place. Oh, we're saying you see the rocks the grass and the gravel there in second place. Making mistakes, drops them down to 8th pardon me, while Xylon 96 makes that move. But I see a car running wide there at the end of that hairpin, but I'm not so sure. Hopefully we'll catch a replay or get something footage on that from race director Ken Bird. So
Splits or DUs are in front that ran wide a bit. Ooh, likely Wiseacre gets a bit sideways coming out the corner, and that gives Saltash Racing a good run down the straight. We move ahead in fourth place as likely Wiseacre tucks behind the rear wing and gets a slipstream. It's definitely not going to be enough as Saltash Racing holds on to that position for turn 1 and 2. But likely Wiseacre looks to be gathering himself up for a run on Saltash Racer again. Maybe try and regain that fourth position.
Comes in with an aggressive move on the inside of Saltash Racer, sticks his nose in, makes the move steep, and just drops it back. Too harsh, but drops it back behind Saltash Racer, lining up behind him. We definitely do move likewise. Isn't afraid of setting the car on the inside, isn't that right? Oh, but as he flips likely Wiseacre, the Saltash runs a bit wide, puts him on the gravel, unsettles him.
Yes, looks like it's all paid off for EBM Brandosa, who's come through and picked up all the pieces.
Oh, where has he come from? I did not see him at all. I thought he was down in 10th position or something. He's come up to 4th, so great show of patience for EBM Brandosa to make his way to the place. So
Yeah, looks like
well done.
a few drivers made some mistakes there, and he was just sitting back in the wings and slowly picking them off one by one.
Absolutely, so definitely taking advantage of every driver making the mistakes there. So as we're looking up towards the field, it is Pulse and BT Huso, who were actually partners in the Bathurst 1000. So it'll be nice to see a great rivalry between those two again, like last year, working as mates, but now working as rivals and competitors for this Track Stars Racing Series Track Trail Derby Heat 3. Pulse versus D Huso, who's going to take second place at the end of this race.
Yeah, looks like a bit of a battle for bragging rights. Looking like D Huso has a bit of pace on at this stage, but I kind of think I'll back punts to sort of use a bit of experience with these cars to hold with.
Absolutely, and I'm wondering if D Huso playing a smart strategy and actually staying behind the slipstream, so he's actually pushing Pulse away from the so probably that's a little technique that we might be seeing between teammates and track starts.
Yes, definitely one place you'll see it would be at speed. I think teammates will be looking to get together and push each other
Oh,
along.
I do apologise there, John. Pulse looks like he had a bit of a slow run through the chicane of death, and D Huso comes to make a move on the inside. Patience has worked for him, and he makes the move to second place. So lovely work from D Huso forward end with that patience. But Pulse looks like he's got a bit of a better run. He's using that top end gearbox to go side by side with D Huso up and come towards the first corner between the fast and flipping right corner. Is Pulse leading the way ahead of D Huso. D Huso make a move. He shows the nose and touches right back into the slipstream. So it's going to be a close one towards the finish.
Yeah, very much so. Every point's going to be valuable for punts after missing the qualifying, so he'll need this second place to try and lock himself into the final, and D Huso will be looking for second place as well to try and gain an extra few points and maybe put himself from about 6th to up to 3rd or something like that.
But I've been looking at drivers like EBM Brandosa, it's too far away from these guys. So if one driver makes a mistake on the chicane of death, then he's going to take that podium position.
Yes, he very much is likely to pick up the pieces here or even make a move of his own if these two get too distracted by defending each other. He can come through and sneak past both of them.
As we come through that chicane of death, they've both drivers gone through cleanly, but as we come up, what is Deadpool doing on the final lap? Settle down, son. We know you've won the race, but showboating like that, wow, that's something unique. I don't think I've seen any Track Stars driver do that before at the end of the race, being that creative.
Yes, it's very risky there, probably putting him in danger of doing a Nigel Mansell and destroying his race there, but as we've got Punts coming through for second, D Huso in 3rd place.
Likely Wiseacre in 9th place I just saw there. So
yes.
What will happen? So who caused the incident between those guys? And V Papa AT down in 12th, so big names down the rear end of the grid there. So definitely not a great heat for those two guys in that series, or in that heat. I apologize. But anyway, regardless, it is Deadpool, well, we'll say Dead23 Pool 12 as his username, but we'll call him, well, as I said, we'll call him Mr. Ryan Reynolds. So Ryan Reynolds scores first place in his Honda It's Racing esports car, which actually looks to be the fastest time actually out of everyone, just breaking under the 7-minute marker. So I wonder without that spin, he would have got a 6:55. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely very
but definitely.
possible.
But definitely, exactly. And looking down through second place, Punz, after a little bit of a scare at the chicane of death on the fourth lap, managed to hold on to second place ahead of his friendly rival D Huso in 13th, while Brandosa couldn't get the lollies from the bag from those two guys, where one of them would make a mistake and he would pick up those bag of lollies and take third position. So he'll have to settle for fourth, while Lurox 22 coming from 11th to 5th. So a great recovery drive for Lurox there. And sixth place we have Kez Audio 70 or in the 72 entry in his Nissan, just finishing just ahead of Saltash Racer 83, while Xylon 96 just finished behind them. So it looks like a very close finish between 6th and 8th. While Likely Weiss Aker must have definitely made a mistake there because he had a battle with Saltash at the early part of the race and must have just, I think he got that little bump from Saltash Racer and they must have just put him off a little bit. I
Yeah,
think
I
on the
think
second.
think we missed something there. Something must have happened through through the field and we missed it while we were watching the battle between Punts and De Huso.
Yeah, and bringing up the rear of the field, I mean, it was our fastest qualifier of the night in the CP Motorsport Honda, but VPAPA AT just absolutely nowhere in that race today. So I wonder if he hit the chicane. I wonder if he made too many mistakes, or maybe accidentally hit the pause button because he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. It's something where we didn't really get to see much of. So fingers crossed he can qualify himself for the final heat, and doesn't have to do a last chance qualifier.
Yeah, it's gonna be with a low finish like that. It's gonna be a real struggle for him to get into the straight into the final. He might have to go through the last chance qualifier.
Oof, and I think for somebody like for V Papa to be a last chance qualifier and with confidence, I will definitely be putting my money on him to show a good performance in that. But as we look towards the grid for Heat 4, so we're already on Heat 4. Wow, that went quickly, didn't it, Jarman?
Yep, it's actually flown by once we've gotten into the
Yes,
heats. But yeah, this is the
exactly.
fourth and final heat of the night before we get into our last chance qualifier and of course the final as well.
So brand new names to the series up in the front row. Jake C123 in the Pit Lane Esports Lexus, followed by Devlin Calippo, our Belgian driver. Hopefully he's brought chocolates for everyone, so everyone can have a bit of a bite of his chocolates whilst everyone makes an overtake on him. So just hand a piece of chocolate, Devlin, to every driver as they pass you, and yeah, happy days.
Yeah, that might be a strategy to slow them down.
Put extra weight on the car, nice ballast. But in third place, we have RoboSport in third place in his Nissan, the team leader, the team boss of RoboSport Racing with Bozza 777. Actually, funny enough, that Bozza and RoboSport and have that connection in that second division between EBM and RoboSport Racing. They work very closely with each other to get the best out of each other and setups and all-round competitiveness over their rivals. So definitely one to look forward to in both divisions, in Division 1 and Division 2, with between RoboSport Racing and EBM Motorsport.
Yeah, it'll be a very good relationship between the two teams, and they'll certainly be leaning on each other for support and trading setups, and overall just probably pushing each other to go faster as well.
100%. And I don't know about you, but I'm liking this field already. Little Blacko versus Ando 787 versus Nspud versus It's Racing. Wow.
Yes,
That's definitely gonna be a race and a half.
that'll be a very tasty battle of all those four drivers coming through the back, and of course you can't discount Highlander as well, who's been doing very well tonight. So
Yeah, he
He
scored
could
himself.
sneak through those 3 or 4 ahead of him at the start and put a gap between the 4 in front, and who knows what
Absolutely,
could happen.
absolutely, and his fourth place in that first race definitely gives him a great chance of catapulting himself up to be in that final 12.
Yes, he's very much in the points at the moment, so a good race here, and it'll very well lock him into the final.
Absolutely. So as we see the cards lining up onto the grid, we have Jackson 123 and Australia versus Belgium, who has the better brand of chocolates at the Dragon Trail International Raceway. Heat 3 of the Dragon Trail Derby, not Heat 4, I should say, sorry. Lights out, green flag racing, and it's got Devlin Kumbo has made a great start with Robbo Spore coming from the second row of the grid to make himself possibly up into first, make a move on Devlin Kumbo. Good so. I do apologise, but that's a nice ice cream for Australian fans. But what is this? Anspud P666 from the back row of the grid, racing up into P3. Great start he's had.
Yeah, that was a very good move there by Enspud. Very aggressive start in the race.
Oh, Robbo
Whoa.
tried to do what Anspud did in that first heat, go around the outside, but we do know there's no distraction on those curves at all.
Yes, it's very tough out there.
Absolutely, and leading the race, leading through the first lessons was DJ Exporting Esports, followed closely by Anspud P6 on rating champ. But someone's gone wide. I've seen someone going off there. I believe that is JC123. Oh, what has happened there from pole position down to 123?
I think he just got a bit wide there going through the S's.
And I see Highlander as well drop down to 9th place. So two private have definitely not had a great start to their series. Definitely hindering themselves for a position in the final 12. But as we look up towards the top, it's still DJ Exporting leading the way, and then the reigning champion Enspud P6 with Little Blacko, who's Enspud's competitor and challenger last year for the title until he decided to race stars last year towards the back end. But it looks like we're up towards the front straight between Enspud and DJ. Enspud makes a move onto the inside, he breaks the too deeply. Can he hold it around the inside? Yes, he can, and he makes that move stick into first place. Enspud leads the way between Disappointed and Blacko. It's racing has made himself up to this as well. Oh, look at that! DJ's actually hit him wide, and he's given a bump. He's given a 3-second penalty. Come on, GT score. Enspud's fault. And he's getting himself under pressure from Little Blacko, who makes a lovely move around the outside. I think Enspud is definitely raised control of him. Why did he get a 3-second penalty? He did nothing wrong with it. So very unfortunate. And it just comes to show when it comes to the penalties in the game. We do run our own penalty system, so we don't really use the in-game penalty system. We do have the third parties to racing.
There's a mistake there from Enspud. That's allowed its racing. Disappointed to go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's still outraged and disappointed there.
Yeah.
Making that little bump there. I don't think it was intentional. It must have been accidental. So racing, things happen like that. If you say a driver says sorry, you need to try to redress. It's fine. Everyone has to play their part a bit more, just keep racing forward. But it looks like It's Racing is making a challenge around the outside of DJ. Ooh, very ambitious. Can he hold around the outside of Enspud? Where did he come from? Cut to the camera. And where did Enspud come from? Did he make a move off the chicane there between It's Racing and DJ?
I think It's Racing. DJ got a slow exit. Spud's just really capitalised on really good launch out of that chicane and just sailed past him.
And it comes to show that the reigning champ like Enspud and former champion It's Racing. Oh, looks like Disappointed's made a mistake coming too wide onto the S's there. That he'll be kicking himself for that. But I think luckily for him, he's got himself a good gap between definitely Calypso. So he's going to be holding himself for a 7th position. But Highlander round is up for 3 of them coming up towards the headwinds and the seaside here. Jake's in, no, not quite. He's making the best of it. Just as we look up towards the front, I do see the those three mates this season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good freeway battle between those three teams. And of course, we can't discount teams like Shadon and EBM. Basically, any team in effect.
Absolutely. And for those guys, and Little Blacko himself, as we know, he is a well-known name, familiar name in the Trackstar series, Trackstar as in general for the last few years, back in the old GT5, GT6 version of Trackstar. So definitely good to see him around. One of his, like we said at the start, of his teammates is sick.
Yes, he'll be very much a capable replacement. Maybe even do better than Farrell's Lurox on his night. So there's certainly no downgrade or upgrade either way.
Absolutely not. But I'm just looking through the leaderboard. I don't see DJ anymore. I wonder what happened to him. He must have.
That was when he ran wide of the S's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that came up on the screen, remember?
Ah, yes, I did see that. My ball was there. So he did make a mistake there at the back end. So it looks like he's moving down. So he's still disappointed 7th and 8th. Those guys, unbelievable. Last chance qualifiers. So a bit of work for them to do.
Yes, pit lane boys have struggled a little bit tonight. Maybe it might be a bit of getting used to the extra horsepower.
Absolutely, getting used to it, understanding how the car works, and realising it's not the arrangements that we have here. These track stars for those guys is just getting a handle of those guys and they have one more race to do. Yes. Coming up towards the seaside hairpin behind N-Spud, and it's racing very close behind, but N-Spud and I don't think he's going to burn that penalty off. Oh, Little makes it runs away. I think N-Spud wants to burn that penalty to its racing because no problem there at the top end of the track. But rounding that final corner, Little Blacko, easy as you like, takes the win ahead of N-Spud, P666 and is racing. Nissan, Lexus and Honda podium. Wow, when was the last time we set that jump?
Very long time ago. I'd nearly say probably back in 2018, early 2019.
Wow, definitely a long time coming. So it's great to see all the manufacturers heating up the podiums, Drag Trail Seaside for the Croatian Grand Prix for the Drag Trail Derby. Heat 4, rounding up the final part of running up the final positioning of Heat 4. It is Highlander 215. Running through the race results for you guys, for you ladies and gentlemen, it is Little Blacko with the Nissan for Robo Sport Racing taking out first position with N-Spud P666. I would like to say he had a post-race discussion with the stewards because he wasn't happy with his penalties, so he stormed his way into the stewards and saying, you know, him and DJ went to the stewards and said, look, it wasn't my fault that I got a 3-second penalty. He hit me from behind, and DJ admitted fault and put his hand up and said, yep, I take full fault for that. So DJ was what's the word I'm looking for? He was misplaced, and he outbroke himself, which put N-Spud wide for a potential victory there.
Yeah, I think the stewards probably were a bit proactive on the investigation as well, in coming forward the Spud and asking what happened with the penalty there, and when it was discovered it was a contact penalty, the decision was quickly made that it should be reversed, as we know how hit and miss the GT Sport penalty system can be.
100%. So N-Spud definitely claims that second position as just. So second place for N-Spud and third place is It's Racing, closely behind, with the top three split by just over a second there. So, like we said at the start of the Heat 4 broadcasts, Jarman, we definitely saw those three drivers live up to the hype.
Yes, they certainly come from the back. They worked a way to make it through the field and find themselves at the pointy end come the end of the race.
And definitely going to help out with the results with the points table between those three drivers. Or
yes.
At least for Little Blacko, who Had a bit of an off second heat, so it's definitely good points for him.
Yeah,
We round
so
out the rest.
put in very good point score, and I think you'd find all three of them will end up towards the front end of the grid. And obviously back on the Nissan Lexus Honda thing, I do remember probably early 2019 there was a race between myself, Tyson, and a guy called Pubs, and there was me in the Lexus, Tyson in the Honda, and Pubs in the Nissan. So hopefully we can get back to that kind of racing next year.
Oh, absolutely, and with our Trackstars BOP, it's surely can happen because we see it right now on the grid, less than a second between the drivers, and we definitely know that they are three fast drivers. So definitely parity is there between the three cars. So we've done a great job, Trackstars, for your BOP. As we run through the rest of the grid, it is Robo Sport in fourth with Bozza 777 in fifth. Mickey's 123 consistently doing a great job with his third place, heading up in sixth. Jake's in disappoint and DJ a little bit disappointed, a little bit disappointing showing there for the pit lane boys, but hopefully a redemption can be on the agenda for the qualifying for the last chance qualifier. And rounding up the rest of the grid, Devlin Calypso handed out 9 pieces of chocolate bars, but it managed to stay ahead of 2 drivers. So a great job for him, and more chocolate for him come the end of the race, come the paddock briefing.
Yes, and then we've got Highlander at the back, and then unfortunately Ando got stuck on the grid twice. We actually did have a red flag and a restart, which we didn't show on the coverage, but unfortunately Ando got stuck on the grid twice and was a
That's a bit
scratching
unlucky.
from that race.
That's a bit hard. That's a bit unlucky for Ando, who's definitely we know as a fast driver. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he doesn't have to go through the last chance qualifier. But as we look through the point scoring, we do remember it is the top, what I believe is the top 12. Is that correct? Top
Yes,
12
it's top
go through
12 go
automatically.
through.
So what do we got? We have our top 12 drivers. It will be It's Racing on pole position for the final race with Little Blacko and N Spud. So Honda versus Nissan versus Lexus. Wow, this is definitely one I'm looking forward to. But before we get to that race, we have a last chance qualifier with Kez Audio leading the way ahead of Xylot. Bozza V Papa definitely wants to make a redemption for himself and get himself up into that top 16 final. Looking through the rest of the grid, we have our last chance qualifier coming up right now for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Kez Audio and pole with Bozza 777 for EBM Motorsport in second, with Saltash, the reserve driver for Lexus Mash Buzz Racing, in third with V Papa AT, the only, actually funny enough, the only CP Motorsport driver representing that team tonight. We didn't see an appearance from XX Uzo.
No, unfortunately XX Uzo couldn't make it tonight, but I'm sure he's all raring to go for round 1 of the Formula Track Stars next week.
100%, and he will definitely be looking forward to those cars. 100%, and if he has his brother as his pit engineer or as a voice in his head over the headset, then definitely not a bad combination of brothers to be working alongside each other. But going to the rest of the grid, we have DJ in the 24 in 5th place with RoboSport in the 20 in 6th. DJ will be definitely looking to get himself up into the final race with the final 16, so he definitely needs to hold his position in at least in the top 5 to get himself an automatic entry. But it'll be tough for all these drivers here.
Yeah, there's 4, well probably 5 or 6 very quality drivers that will all be looking for a spot. Actually, you could nearly say any one of these drivers could make a claim to having one of the 4 spots in the final, so should be a very entertaining race to watch.
100%, and we definitely look forward to as we see the cars lining up onto the grid, getting into their parking base. 10 drivers, 4 spots available. Who's going to take those 4 spots? Kev, Bozza, Salty, V-Pup, DJ. We won't know until we find out after these 5 red lights go out. Lights Chase out, green flag racing, and a poor start from Kes Audio. So again, that outside racing line does not seem to work for drivers. But look who's coming through the middle. Saltash Racer 83, the Mash Buds Racing reserve car, comes through to the lead and takes that first position, coming into that first chicane with V Papa AT coming up in third position. We'll also roughly briefly in second, but it looks like V Papa's got very wide onto that gravel, and the upset. So a bit of a travel corner cut extension. Saltash Racing just definitely pulled the gap. He's running away from Bozza, Robbo, Benjo, JMX, DJ. What do we do now? Jump? Who do we put money on to in the top four?
I really think that V Papa is going to bounce back in this. Just don't see him staying down for too long.
Definitely not. And JMX is definitely an underdog. Definitely an underdog in these cars. He's not a really huge fan of he's making his legs to go in the right direction. Coming up into I believe that is a V. I think that is V Papa AT. Is it hit the wall there? Hit the chicane of death. Another name for chicane of death. V Papa AT. I think that's twice for him tonight. So
my prediction isn't looking too good at the moment.
No,
he's going to have to make a big effort to come back and qualify for this. But there's still 7 laps to go.
7 laps to go. I was just about to make that point there. It is instead of 5 laps, we have 8 laps. So definitely the drivers need to keep a cool head. Think about strategy because today's a strategy game. Well, this last year's qualified is a strategy racing game. So pit stops are mandatory, and hopefully, if pit stops may come into play, maybe not. We'll see. The tyres of the drivers are look after their tyres a little bit more, considering it's a longer lap. It's eventually going to be wide there on the exit of the double right hand as Kes Audio.
Yeah, Bento didn't really make a good move though. Up into turn 1 on JMX, and that put him in the final transfer. But obviously that mistake down at the back end is open. Kes Audio will now take that final transfer.
Kes Audio, as we see in Trackstars Porsche Cup Series, is a slow driver. Seeing him around local communities and racing leagues, he's a slow driver. What I've been told. Definitely keep putting his name out there. He decides to have someone free race with Trackstars and be a surprise.
Yes, he's a surprise packet. Someone that maybe team managers will have to keep an eye out for.
Well, I do think his team. I do believe he is the owner of this racing team. So I don't think he'll be looking out to join a team. Alliance is with the team. We're thinking. Keeping an eye on the rest of this race. But V Papa making that mistake at the dish chicane. Someone's gone wide there. Who was
that was Jakesy.
Jakesy 123, who's definitely not having a great night tonight in his Lexus. That's definitely Calypso as well. Is also making a few mistakes. Just too much power for these guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think some of them maybe can't quite handle the power, but there's a few that can as well.
Absolutely, and all it takes is one race. One race is you have a bad showing, the rest of the races. But so far, a decent night for the drivers. Saltash in first place with Auto Sport racing in second. Bozza triple second, third in Kes Audio. One driver that will be looking to make his way up the grid. DJ, exploited on Kes Audio or Bozza triple second. It looks like V Papa has actually made a move cleanly on DJ in the final hairpin of the drag race circuit.
Yes, V Papa's really finding his groove now, and he's going to have to find it in the last 5 laps. Kes Audio
makes a move, but Boz is still fighting him for it. But does Kes Audio make a stick? Yes, he does. So beautiful move there between a beautiful racing between Boz and Kes Audio. Down the outside for Kes, great job. Winning catch up for Robert's Sport Racing with 4 wide laps to go.
I think the Kes Audio was a battle. I think between the two of them, they both know that they both have to get a move on and make sure that they're in the third place to get a bit of a safety net, because Papa is closing up on them. They don't want to be the one on the outside looking in.
Papa is closing fast. I can guarantee he's the manager at CP Motorsport. He definitely wasn't happy with his performance in that last year. So definitely get him the word and say, look, sign you because you're a fast driver. I know you're a fast driver, but to make sure that we need you to make those positions, we need you to get up there to make sure that you're representing CP Motorsport in the way it should be.
Yes, and although that being said, I mean, some of those mistakes might have been coming from trying to keep clean as well. Where someone sticks their nose in to sort of back out a bit, then you end up washing wide. All of a sudden you're off the track, and it's not through anyone's fault really, but just being cautious that you don't sort of disgrace the name. If that makes sense.
As he's coming up on the inside, did he make a move? Was he trying to make a move on that inside on that first right-hander? Surely not. I haven't ever seen a car come across. But look at the background. I do see Disappointed make a spin there. Oh, he's gone and hurt himself there. So Pit Lane Esports definitely not having a good night tonight. That definitely not having a good night tonight, Carmen.
No, it's a big struggle.
That was the icing on the cake. That unfortunately series for DJ and JC down at 7th and 8th. Not a great shot for those guys, but hopefully, fingers crossed, by next week, we definitely hope to see putting in performance that we hope to expect.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be capable of stronger performances. Papa goes around the outside of Bozza, or actually, I'll call it the inside, makes that move stick into 4th place, but Bozza's looking to come back.
Looking to cut back for V Papa, but he's got to tuck into that slipstream if he doesn't get any advantage. That first chicane up at turn 2 and 3. Is he close enough? I don't think so. I think V Papa was just a big enough gap to close up to Kiss Audio and Robert Sport, but leading the way. The reserve driver for National Bus Racing, Solomon Racing 83, leading the way, charging away through the field in his bright blue and purple National Bus Racing. So a great showing for our reserve driver at National Bus Racing. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye on him for this race. And we did see a few performances in this Porsche Cup and performance series in his short racing career that he's definitely a handy and a capable driver of delivering points for the team.
Yeah, I think looking back through the records, might be wrong here, but I do believe he took a race win. Yes, he did.
He took a race win at the Seika of the Porsche Cup, or like in, I don't know if it was Laguna or...
Yeah, it was Laguna Seika.
Suzuki. Oh no, Suzuki was in 2nd place. You can definitely tell he's a direct chance of scoring great points for the team. As a right angle, people charging loads of points for the ball. Going down the straight, that hopper power looks like it's going to be a little bit quicker than his percent power GTR racing car. Wait until the back S's and the back straight.
Yeah, looks like he gained a fair bit on brakes there compared to Kes Audio, so that might be where the Honda's got a bit of a strong suit.
Absolutely. Noticing through the last season between his racing and the brakes are really good on the Honda. So the Honda can with the package the brakes, that's for sure.
Yes, it's definitely a very good car on the brakes.
And as I called it a few corners before, he's going to get him on the backstraight coming towards the hairpin at the seaside. Who's going to break the latest? It is First Audio that breaks the latest, but it doesn't make that move around the outside as we cut towards the chicane. They're still side by side coming towards chicane of death, but Kev's Audio backs it out. Smart decision. As we're on to the second last lap towards that final corner. Soltash Racer 83 leading the way ahead of Robo Sport Racing with a very fast couple 18 catching up. Can he actually win 3rd place? Can he actually upset everyone and get a win for second place?
ask for him, but I mean, anything's possible in that last lap. Just sort of back on that battle with Kez Audio and Papa, I get a feeling Kez might have looked in the mirrors coming out of that hairpin and seen the Boswell a fair way behind and just thought, I've got that final spot in the final.
Exactly.
I don't need to fight.
I don't need to fight. I'm just going to secure my place to the final. Clean the sheds up, pack the equipment away.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is go too wide from the chicane of death in third place and see both of you in the fence.
Absolutely. So we're going through the last part of the track, the last sector of Saltash Racer 83. I would like to give a shout out to the Old Farts Racing Team. It is your boy, Saltash Racer 83, my reserve driver for Mash Buds Racing, leading the way into the final for the final time, heading from the death chicane through this death chicane. Escalated back very perfectly. Got him in the run. But is V-Pup making a bit of Robbo Sport there? It looks like he is, and V-Pup is going to claim P2, doesn't claim P1. Close enough. If we had one more lap, he definitely got Saltash Racer. But for the final time, coming towards the checkered flag is Saltash Racer taking the victory. Salty, congratulations, buddy, on your win. A great effort for V-Papa AT after that death chicane murder to claim second position ahead of Robbo Sport. There were 4 participants taking their place on the grid for the last race of the final 12th lapper. Very short. As JMX rounds up the final placings off the grid, definitely. So he's on the pause menu, so he's definitely. He definitely had a race to forget, so
I think he's mailed it in on the last lap.
I think definitely. I think his AI is going to take him through that last chicane. Definitely not crash through it. Hopefully not. No.
It'd be embarrassing for the AI if it hit the chicane.
I don't think the AI is going to be similar to the AI in the robo race where it just crashed straight into the big wall there. So thank goodness the AI or GT Sports are a lot smarter than the robo race cars. So coming up towards that checkered flag, Devlin Calypso for Belgium in 10th place. But what a win for Saltash Racer 83, Mash Buds Racer reserve driver and Old Farts Racing Team driver, the main driver for that team. So congratulations, Salty, for that victory ahead of V-Papa AT, who made a very, very fast progression up the field there. Only just to be a bit over a second behind Saltash. I think one more lap and he would have gotten him.
Yeah, I think it's very much possible that he would have taken the win if there was another lap, but luckily he only needed to finish in the top 4, so that's enough to see him through to the final, and he's got 12 laps to see what he can do there.
100%, so hopefully, fingers crossed, V-Papa AT can show CP Motorsport that they made the right choice in signing V-Papa to replace D. Huso, but it will be a battle. It'll be an interesting battle between who was D. Huso, their main driver for CP Motorsport, against V-Papa AT. So some little bit of inter-team rivalry will be going on between those two. So that'll be a great one to watch in the final race. But rounding up the rest of the grid, we have Robbo Sport on the podium there. So another podium for Robbo Sport. So racking up his podium results or podium tally. So great job for Robbo. And rounding up the rest of the grid, we have Kez Audio in 4th in the 72, claiming that final position for the final 16 Trackstars Touring Car Series Dragon Trail Derby, sponsored by Elite Brake and Mechanical. And the rest of the grid, we have Bozza 777 just missing out, only 7.7 behind. Only 7.7 behind Kez Audio, so very unlucky for Bozza to have another EBM sponsored car on the grid. And as we take a little break, as we get to those final point standings. We have our point standings already, so that was quick work, Jarman. So your maths is on point tonight. I think it's gone on mute.
Sorry, I went on mute there. I was very quick with the points.
Your maths points is on tonight, mate. I don't know how well you did in maths in high school, but Hey, it's working out for us, so great job.
Yeah, I did somewhat well with maths. I could have done better.
But hey, at least you don't need high numbers and difficult equations to figure out who's lining up on pole position. It's racing on pole position with Little Blacko in second place. So it's racing versus Little Blacko versus N-Spot versus D Huser versus Likely Wise Acre. What a star-studded field we have here for the final time at Dragon Trail for the Croatian Grand Prix.
Yeah, and on top of that, we also have Lurox in 7th and Deadpool in 9th. We've got also EBM Brandosa in 6th and Mickey's E on in 8th. Of course, Ando
Yes.
coming from 10th. And
Oh,
then,
so Ando did just make it into the final positionings there. So great job for Ando, despite missing that Heat 4 race where he had a couple of technical issues. But hopefully, fingers crossed, he's resolved that for tonight, for tonight's final race. So Ando 787, Highlander 215. But we do see one common thing there, gentlemen. We have gridline racing, but no pit lane esport in the final. So were the series managers wrong in picking their field of seven for
mate,
the main series?
maybe they were wrong, but of course, there is a long season ahead of us, so there's plenty of opportunities for pit lane to show that they are very much worthy of a spot on the grid, like the series organisers somewhat decided.
100%, and it's basically like you said, it is a pre-season race, so these guys, the gridline is coming in just for fun, but also making a statement that they did deserve that position on that main division, that Division One. But regardless, regardless, Pit Lane Esports will have their chance to shine on the 7th of February, 2021, where they take a round one of the Formula Track Stars, racing local time at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, where we will have 7 teams, 14 drivers looking to take that win for the first race of what is going to be a long year ahead. Coming up, but forgetting about the long year ahead, we're coming to the final race right now. It's racing on pole position. Can anyone get that car? Can anyone catch the Hondas today? Looks like N-Spot Future 6 might be able to have a chance. Maybe Michael Weissaker as well. Lights out and away we go. But actually, before I do say anything else, where is Little Blacko?
Yes, unfortunately, we had a bit of a mishap at the start of the original start, and Little Blacko's disappeared due to those issues. Once we had a power issue as well.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. It looks like what is not unfortunate is getting the start that he needs ahead of its racing, making that what is going to be a curse. Hopefully, it's not a curse for next week's and the weeks after that in position is not being favoured by all drivers on the pole position. So,
Yeah, no one's going to want pole at the first round.
nobody wants to be the issue because they know straight away that the pole position is not the best place to be.
Yes, it'll be like those Monza qualifying sessions in Formula 1. Everyone just sits behind each other and goes, oh, after you.
Exactly right. But it's like Wise or Shadon Racing making a charge towards him, but it's now raining. The stars leading the way. So hopefully this we get to see a great show from Spud, who had a little bit of a tricky night tonight in the Derby, in the Dragon Trail Derby. So fingers crossed that he can actually get us a great result and come out this mistake-free. Make this statement for the championship.
Yeah, even though he's had below par 9, he still found himself at the front of the grid, which probably is a very ominous sign for his rivals. If that's the case on a bad night, then what's he capable of on a good night?
Exactly right. So definitely one to keep an eye on all season long between N-Spud, Likely Wise Acre, leading the front, leading the way. D-User 14 representing Mash Spuds Racing / CP Motorsport is racing Deadpool, who's driving rounding up the top behind. And 787 is getting himself close. Actually, no, there's two different kinds of tracks there. But N-Spud is
definitely not out of reach at all. It's a long race. There's still 10 laps left in it. It's a train forming here with N-Spud, D-Uso, Deadpool and It's Racing all fighting it out for that second spot.
As Deadpool decides to break deep into that corner with those Hondas, we know it definitely has some great braking stability compared to the SN10 Lexus, so using those brakes to their advantage and that straight line speed. As Deadpool runs a bit wide, he's got himself a little bit onto that gravel and it just kicks up and drops him back down to 6th place. So I can see two trains forming. We have the leading 6 and then we have the remaining 7 drivers. Led by
yeah, it looks like some very interesting battle groups between the entire field, as we've got It's Racing and N-Spud going side by side. And should also mention that the pit window is now open, so each car has to make a tyre and fuel stop, so it'll be interesting to see when everyone chooses to make that stop.
Hopefully it's going to be soon for It's Racing because he's made a mistake there and he's hit himself into the chicane of death. So another name for the chicane of death. But this time it is claimed It's Racing, our series admin and team boss of It's Racing, claiming that chicane of death. Great start. It's definitely got some engine damage on that car, so I would be thinking it's going to make a pit stop.
Yeah, it would be a very wise move to jump straight into the pits now and get that damage repaired. Well, somewhat repaired, although because we're on light damage it'll just automatically repair, so it might be a quicker move for him. Get the fuel and tyres done and out the way and back into it.
Exactly. Robo Sport has done the same thing for that team, so Robo Sport It's Racing is making that pit stop to get their compulsory stop out of the way and then clear air. Who else? But the other drivers. There's one driver in particular, Shadon Racing driver, leading the way in his red silver GT drag trail for the final time tonight. We've had quite an eventful night tonight. 4 heats, 1 last chance qualifying, and now final 2 broadcasting. So hopefully you've all enjoyed this series of races and sticking around, and we hope to see. Oh, but I see in the background there, N-Spud P6 making a huge mistake as well, just like It's Racing on the previous lap. N-Spud P6 making a mistake. What is going on tonight?
Yeah, that's a strange one. It's very rare to see 2 champions end up in a war. Maybe it's now the chicane of champions or something like that, like Montreal.
kind of like the Canadian Grand, kind of like the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. So you're not wrong there. So putting his hazard lights just to tell everyone that he is a hazard. He has engine damage. So why is he moving into the pit stop, refueling his car all the way? I wouldn't say up to the brim because a full tank of fuel would be too much. But he comes out ahead of Robo Sport Racing. Funnily enough, it is the 3 managers of Trackstars touring car of the Trackstars Racing Series lighting up the rear end of the track. So definitely not a good night for definitely not a great night for the series managers.
No, but it's still a long race, so we could see these guys end up a bit further up the field towards the end of things.
100%. We're only on lap 5 and 12, so we've got plenty of time to watch out for those people go. Hopefully they can make some sort of progression up the field, but it is like the guys in D-User taking the top 3 podium position. 22. Oh, Deadpool as well. What is this? 3 races, 3 laps in a row. Everyone's making mistakes. I don't think everyone's tough enough people want to come and race on this track and come.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fearsome track, I can tell you that. Almost the chicane of death will be a bit like turn 8 at Adelaide.
Well, absolutely. It looks like Deadpool's come into the pit stop as well because he must have copped some engine damage as well. So 3 drivers. Start, so definitely one for the practice books for those drivers before round 1. So definitely a practice to go, but one driver that doesn't need practice, or looks like he has put in a lot of practice, likewise Acre up front for Shadon Racing, charging strong. 22, lighting up the rear end of the podium position with V-Pump. Papa 18 quite close behind with Ando 787 and Brando 76. Kes Audio in 7th and the first of the pit runners. I apologise. Deadpool in 8th behind Mickey's, who has a bit of a disappointing end to his final race, but at least what you can be happy of is that he didn't make the final.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably 8 to 10 other drivers that didn't make it, and McKees is probably what you'd consider one of the TS2 drivers, so to put himself in the main race tonight is certainly a good effort when some of the main series drivers weren't quite so fortunate and missed the show.
Absolutely. It just shows that when it comes to practice and when it comes to actually car pointing straight, it just turns out to be maybe not just the main drivers, but the Division 2 drivers just putting a name for themselves. As it comes into the pits for his mandatory pit stop, as it comes in, as Kes as well, he's putting 15 years, so that might be cutting it just fine for him. Wait to see where he positions at the race. Just behind Anspot Feature 6 and ahead of its racing in P10. Looking out towards the front, I don't think there's going to be any moves towards the pit lane for Michael Wise. He's just cruising away, he's plucking, maybe he's doing a few seconds there, not pushing too hard because he knows he has a big gap to D. Huso and so interesting.
I think they're a bit low on fuel, so I think you might see if drivers dive in this lap and maybe one or two try and stretch it out to 8 laps.
Ooh, that could definitely be taking it right to the grim, so we'll just wait and see if Michael Wise pits. Yes, he does pit, so then you're right there, John, he makes that decision, and I think a thank definitely needed to come in, that's for sure. Lurox as well, 1% left on his car. But how much has Ando got? So 3%, so he's been a bit of fuel saving. Where does likely Wise Laker come out? He comes out ahead of Deadpool, who's just coming past the start-finish line. And there's a big gap between himself and Deadpool. I would think he's provisional second, but we'll wait and see what D. Huso has to say come the end of the race.
Yeah, it looks like at this stage Deadpool's managed to keep himself ahead of Lurox after that incident at the chicane. It'll be interesting to see whether he pulls an undercut on D. Huso this time around. I'm assuming that D. Huso is probably going to have to pit this time.
I would think so, because if he's gone 8 laps, he's definitely also behind Enspud or likely Wise when they were battling his first few laps. 12, I would definitely think he needs to pit, but navigating through that death chicane, he's going to the throttle, he's not letting off, so I don't think he must be just doing it fast enough just to put himself ahead of Deadpool, so let's wait and see if the strategy has paid off for D. Huso, so fingers crossed that if he gets through that fast outlap and he gets himself ahead of Deadpool, that would be very smart. As a guys, you want to think through how fast can you do it? Probably in about, say, counting 8 seconds there. At least he get himself ahead of likewise ahead of Deadpool 12. Mr. Brian Reynolds in third place is here. Yes, he is. So, not much though. So that was a very good outlap by D. Huso, just ahead of Deadpool. But Deadpool in that Honda can't use fast.
Yes, it's looking like Deadpool's very much a threat for the second position.
It gets a little bit tail happy with the cold tyres, cold Dureza tyres, so he has to warm those up before he gets to the back end of his track. Looks like Mr. Ryan is he going to make a late move coming towards the hairpin at the seaside? He's going to use those Honda brakes to his advantage. We'll put a move in there, we won't have to stick behind Key Hughes and get the pit straight. But looking down towards the back, I can see EBM Brando 5th place. I see kind of a train formance between EBM and S787. So you've got drivers on the spot, they're coming towards us.
Yes, after those early mistakes and Spud needs to charging through the field and it'll be very close towards the end.
Definitely Spud's not like the car tonight. straight. But as we look ahead, it looks like there's a change in the lead. Deadpool as well makes a move on where we saw that. Last chicane or hit straight in that Honda power engine. What was very well known to with engine in Formula One, but it's come through with the goods in 2K. Just a very solid engine compared to the Lexus and the Nissans.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, with the BOP adjustments, they very much brought Honda back into the fight here, so should be very good for them this year.
And this will be a great, and it will also be a great showing for our viewers that would like to participate in our series. About them like Ara Racer and Duo GT Sport and doing nothing. So why not join us? Like us on Trackstars Racing Series Facebook page. So our private page between regular drivers. Link to our Discord channel where our series managers will guide you through and sign up to get the chance to drive with the best Trackstars. So at the very best so far, what is leading the way is Like the Wise Acre. So you have the chance to, if you have a basic match like the Wise Acre, why not sign up for Trackstars Racing Series on Facebook and join our Trackstars Racing Series. As we're coming up towards that second last lap, it is Like the Wise Acre, but looks like Deadpool is really hitting slowly in that Honda power. So, like we said before, a great showing for Honda.
Yeah, it's Deadpool's really got that car sorted out. I know myself and Deadpool jumped into a room and did some testing, and Deadpool was sort of a little bit ahead of my pace, and then he set up his way, and away he went, found another 5/10 of a second. So certainly that practice room worked very well for Deadpool. Certainly got him up to speed. I think he's going to need to use every single bit of it if he still wants to catch Like the Wise Acre. I think it might just be a bridge too far for him.
Yeah, I believe so, because Like the Wise Acre just hasn't put a good roll on tonight, except for probably that third heat that he did, and he just where he got shoved wide at the back end of the track, which was definitely not his fault, which was a little bit unlucky and unfortunate. But regardless of that, just a solid night for Like the Wise and Shadow.
Yeah, it's been a very strong night for them.
But as we come through the back of the pack, it is Enspud and Ando. Enspud making his way up into 6th place and making a move on the grid line. Racing driver Ando 717. Fierce rivals, but friendly rivals. Enspud, Ando, and It's Racing. Is It's Racing going to make a move? No, but he won't, because he's going to stick back and it's going to think the two boys fight. Will that come through? And I'll take 6th place for you, bloke. But It's Racing is staying put in 8th place. But Spud again gets another penalty, another GT Sport penalty. Wow, what is going on with penalties tonight for Enspud? He's definitely not, he's always definitely receiving so definitely one for GT Sport one for us to contact GT Sport with.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit of a break has seen sort of Spud forget where to hit people, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
not saying he deliberately does it, but
or maybe hitting him, or people hitting him, but maybe that car behind him gets tail happy. That was hit before. But looking up towards the grid, I do see Deadpool trying to make a move on Like the Wise Acre. Oh, just not enough time, but Like the Wise Acre takes out that final race of the Trackstars Racing Series Touring Cars Dragon Trail Derby as Ando 787 retakes that 6th position, and Ando takes 6th and Enspud and It's Racing side by side, with It's Racing also getting a penalty towards the end there. But my goodness, but congratulations to Like the Wise Acre and Shadon Racing for taking out the event of champions and the Trackstars Touring Car Dragon Trail Derby, sponsored by Elite Breaking Mechanical. So that wraps up the night, ladies and gentlemen. We have our official winner for the pre-season. It is Like the Wise Acre for Shadon Racing in the 144 car in his Nissan. 16 minutes 55 seconds it took him, so very quick time. but very close behind him. He must have been pushing those extra seconds for those seconds to come down, and he was hoping it wasn't a 13 lap race.
Yeah, and I mean, Deadpool's probably hitting that wall at the chicane of death early on in the race. I'm sure that might have cost him probably half to 1 second, and that might have been all he needed to get ahead of likely Wiseacre at the end.
Absolutely, and going back through the grid and going back through the replay myself, we did see that Deadpool actually did overfuel his car. So something to work on, perhaps. Maybe just understand the basics of how to refuel and when to stop refueling, because when you overfuel a car, it just loses you time in the pit lane.
Yeah, not only loses time in the pit lane, but also makes the car a bit heavier too, so costs you
Exactly,
time on track as well. But at the
100%.
same time, the last thing you want to do is be too short on fuel and not make it to the end.
Absolutely, you're safe to overfuel than underfuel.
That's exactly right.
But look at that again, Jarman. We do have ourselves another Nissan, Honda, Lexus podium, so that'll bring a smile to your face as a series admin.
Yeah, it certainly keeps things competitive between the three makes and also unpredictable as well. You sort of know
Absolutely,
that the cream's going to rise to the top on every night.
100%. And as we run down through the grid, we have Lurox doing to a quiet night for him for the final, but still enough to claim fourth position and having that good performance just before round one of the touring cars and Formula Series in the next couple of weeks, with EBM Brandosa rounding up the top five, which I would think. Would you think yourself maybe Ed Spud and It's Racing had a missed opportunity there to fight for the podium and top five?
Yeah, I'd very much say that they missed an opportunity there. I'd even say that even like with them, well, it's his mistake at the start and then hitting the chicane. I think he sort of threw away an opportunity to win that race as well as Spud probably threw away an opportunity to win as well. I think both of them would have been very much contenders for the win without their mistakes.
Absolutely, and it's all about going back to the drawing board between those two drivers, because if they're going to find a way to catch likely Wiseacre, they're going to need something out. They're going to have to pull a cat out of the bag and compete with him, because so far so good for Shade On Racing, where we have the rest of the grid. We have Ando 787 in sixth, and like we said before, Ed Spud, our reigning champion, EBM Trackstars Touring Car champion, in seventh, with It's Racing, the five-time champion, in eighth. Mick Ease makes a recovery drive up into ninth, 1, 2, 3. So a decent night for the Div 2 driver, and basically the only Div 2 driver that's the highest placed Div 2 driver. So congratulations to Mick Ease there for bragging rights.
Yeah, you
And Kes Audio,
can't forget Robbo Sport as well. Made the field.
absolutely right. So, and Kes Audio up in the top 10, and Highlander showing their performance for Gridline Racing in 11th, and Robbo Sport in 12th. Rounding up the back of the grid, V Papa AT for CP Motorsport in 13th place, with 3 DNFs and Saltash, Little Blacko, and Punz.
Yep, it looks like a unfortunate event for Little Black Eye and Punts. They were all set to race in the final, and then obviously Little Blacko had start line issues, and then
Yeah,
on the
he
rerun he wasn't able to get back in as well. So
wasn't
th-
be able to get back in on time, but he did say on the chat. I remember when I was reading the chat, he did say his car was stuck in reverse. So
yeah,
I'm the only time I can remember a car stuck on reverse is when James May went to on Top Gear, bought himself a Mercedes 230 SEL, where it has a very infamous gearbox where instead of plucking it down for reverse, it actually goes up for reverse. So unfortunately for him, it kind of reminded him of the James May. Kind of brought me back that James May vibe where he crashes into Hammond whilst at a set of traffic lights instead of driving forwards.
yeah. Unfortunately, that's not what you want to have happen to you at the start of a 12 lap final.
Absolutely not. Unless we're racing in an upside down in a parallel universe, in an upside down universe, then reverse is forwards, I guess. So
Although I think
But
think the only way I could have had a worse start in this rerun was if I actually did hit reverse.
exactly, and then we'd have to call it a virtual safety car for you then. But no virtual safety cars for tonight. It was an all out pre-season race, friendly race. But tuning in for next week, we will be live on YouTube for Trackstars Racing at the Trackstars Racing Series channel, where you will find all the action of Division 2 and highlights of Division 1 of the EBM Elite Brake and Mechanical Trackstars Touring Car Series, as well as our Formula One, as our Formula Trackstars, not Formula One, our Formula Trackstars, as well as other series that we will bring you to the channel.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to the coverage of both series on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. I think we might actually be getting live coverage of the Division 1 series as well, which will be a
Okay,
good bonus.
I wonder where. So I wonder who is going to be looking after that. So do you have any idea? Do you have a name that we can throw a cheeky plug at?
Might be a familiar voice from across the other side of the world. I think his name's Adam Weller.
Oh, Mr. Adam Weller.
If you want to go and check out his YouTube channel, he just type in Adam Weller, and he's posted a couple of videos recently of sort of a few different scenarios in motorsport that he's spoken of, a few what ifs, and also some look backs into history as well.
Absolutely, he himself is a proper commentator, unlike myself and Jarman. So he
Y-
definitely has a lot more years and experience ahead of us. But
Yeah,
we do our best to try and liven up and bring a different vibe to the Trackstars community and to you guys watching at home.
yeah, you could
So
definitely describe us as the Division 2 commentators, and Adam Weller is
exactly,
certainly your
it's
main series
Division One.
commentator.
That is a good call there, so I'll give you that one. That was a good one. But yeah, Adam Weller looks like to be confirmed as our returning commentator for how long we're not sure, but fingers crossed we can keep him for the whole season. Maybe not 46 weeks,
Yeah,
but hopefully enough just to find for us to find a fill-in commentator in the meantime.
I think Adam will be at the start of the season at least, but I definitely don't expect him to be too long. Well, for his sake, I hope so, because that'll mean that the United Kingdom's out of lockdown if he stops commentating with us, and that's probably a better scenario than them being in lockdown and having him with us.
Yeah, and absolutely, and with that, and how things are going in the UK, it is not really nice. So we do think of you, Adam, and especially our driver Deadpool, Mr. Ryan Reynolds in second place, both located in the UK or situated in the UK, and we are thinking of you guys, and hopefully you guys are safe and looking after each other, looking after loved ones, looking after family members, and yeah, staying safe, washing your hands, and hopefully you guys can come out of this better and stronger.
Yes, I certainly agree with your sentiments there.
Absolutely. But for now, it is for the final time. Jarman, any words before we get ourselves ready for round one next week or this Sunday coming?
I think it's definitely going to be hard to predict this season, and yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it, and very keen to get in amongst it next week for the start of the Formula Trackstars series.
So we'll be looking forward to our Trackstars Racing Series, where we'll be Mash Spuds Racing, our defending champion, and Spud P666. Can he hold on to his title that he deservedly claimed last year after a battle where he came from a lap down, where the first race from the Blue Moon 500, where he came from a lap down and going from there, from that result, all the way to the end at St. Croix, taking the victory and his championship. Can he hold on to that title for a second time round, or will drivers like Likely Wise Acre at Shadon Racing, or hell, even EBM Motorsport or its Racing Esport making that charge forwards in that Honda engine? CP Motorsport's another great mention. Robo Sport Racing is another mention, and don't discount Pit Lane Esports, mate. it's a big season. It's definitely gonna be the biggest season to date.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and there's nothing more exciting to look forward in Division Two as well, because we will be bringing you that series live here on Trackstar's Racing Series YouTube channel. So stay tuned on Sunday night, 6 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So on behalf of myself and Spud P666 and It's Racing Jarman Dallets, we bid you guys farewell. Have a good night, stay safe, and we'll see you for the next race.